So Warren Gatland makes his selection for the massive game against Italy. I think the first question is, if they lose this, does Warren Gatland go at the end of the Six Nations? Well, I think the answer is going to be yes, unless, of course, they win some of their other games against stronger opposition. If they win maybe 2 of their games against Scotland, England and Ireland, then he maybe stays. But this is probably the defining game of his second tenure. So let's get into this team. And he hasn't taken too many risks, as in not changing too many from last week. The front row, Gareth Thomas went really well last week. He'll need a big game. Evan Lloyd, very new to internationals. He's going to need to step up. Henry Thomas was pretty solid, so no real problems with the front row. Will Rowlands and Daffyd Jenkins were okay last week. They were solid, nothing special. They're going to need to be a bit more special this week, make some breaks, do something a bit special. The back row, pretty much stuck with the same formula, although we see Talupi Faletau come back in for the first time since the World Cup. It probably was going to be Wainwright, and Wainwright's on the bench, but that's probably a bit more because Wainwright's had a nasty gash to the face and maybe it's a bit fresh and they don't want to start him, or maybe they just think Faletau's experience is the way to go. Now on the bench in the second row and back row, I think it's actually pretty strong for Wales there. Freddie Thomas has got a lot of physical potential, still relatively inexperienced of course, but him and Wainwright I think pack a fair bit of punch. The replacements in the front row, not so convinced with. D, Smith, Azarati. Well, Smith's okay, but the other two, not so sure to be honest. So maybe a little bit light there. Going into the backs, and Thomas Williams needs a massive game. He's certainly got it in him. He's stuck with his number 10, Ben Thomas, which is unsurprising. If he'd really thrown Dan Edwards in there, maybe that would have been a bit of panic sign, but they're going to need him to come on and maybe do something special to win this game. The centres, of course, we had that injury to Watkins, so he swapped out Tompkins to 13 and Eddie James into his preferred position of 12. I'm pretty sure Eddie James is the future of centre for Wales, but again, still very early days, his first ever start, so he'll need a massive game, and he's definitely got the ability, but still it's a big ask. Staying with the back three, Tom Rogers should play the full game. Josh Adams needs a big game, hasn't really had that massive performance for Wales for a long time now. We know when he first started with Wales, he was just scoring for fun. Maybe the team was a bit better, but still he's definitely gone off the boil. And Liam Williams is going to have to roll back the clock and not just be solid under the high ball and good passing. We're going to need some of that attacking from him as well. The bench in the backs I think is fairly light. Rodney Williams is an okay 9. Dan Edwards is unproven, and Blair Murray I'm really not too sure about at all. So some definite weaknesses in this team, but can they win? Yes, of course they can. The problem is it's away from home. Italy are going to be absolutely up for this one because they know it's a bit of a defining game for them as well. So, you wouldn't normally say this, I guess, but that game of Italy-Wales is maybe one of the biggest games in the Six Nations for certain reasons. Anyway, let me know if you think this was the right selection and why. Pop all those comments down below, and I'll catch you next time.